Hello, it is 6 p.m. in Tokyo, it is 5 a.m. in Washington. I'm Monita Rajpal in London.
And I'm Errol Barnett here in Abu Dhabi. You're watching World 1.
But first, Japan's race to prevent a nuclear catastrophe. Workers at a crippled nuclear power station are using everything they've got to try and regain control of the most badly damaged reactor. They could be exposing themselves to radiation, but officials say they can't afford to pull emergency staff out of the complex. Very latest on the crisis now from our senior international correspondent Stan Grant in Tokyo. Stan, so we're hearing the Americans, the French, the South Koreans advising their citizens to move further away from the radius that the Japanese advised its own citizens. What do they know that we don't know?
Well, they're drawing on the information that the Japanese are providing, and they're extrapolating from that and coming up with their own assessments about what they believe is appropriate for their citizens' needs.
Now, of course, earthquakes can occur anywhere in the world with little or no warning, but they are more likely to occur along the Earth's plate boundaries. The IAEA, the International Atomic Energy Agency, estimates that a full 20% of all the world's commercial nuclear power reactors, they are in areas of significant seismic activity. You see them here, the shaded areas on your map. We'll call them earthquake zones. Now, the dots that you're seeing represent the world's 442 operable power reactors.
Errol, you know, it's difficult to imagine just how one would cope in the situation that the Japanese are in, but the strength that the nation has shown is remarkable, and it has not gone unnoticed. In Australia, the Daily Telegraph's headline is "Resilience in the Face of Catastrophe." The paper says no looting, no whining, very little panic, if any, and no demands for some mythical them to fix it. The stories are heartbreaking and at the same time uplifting as the best of humanity comes to the fore. In Thailand, the Nation newspaper says catastrophe, the fragility of life and the resilience of spirit. It goes on to say the Japanese ability to overcome disaster is deeply rooted in her spirit, and it is the norm rather than the exception. This unbreakable determination toward reconstruction is a central tenet of Japanese culture. And then the headline in The Scotsman says, "Stoic Japanese will bounce back." It says, for a country to have survived on the Pacific Ring of Fire to become one of the world's largest and most technologically advanced economies would be unthinkable without a tolerance of risk being hardwired into the system. You can read all those articles in full at facebook.com/W1CNN. You could also find a link to our Impact Your World page to see how you can help. Errol. Now, we've been bringing you horrific images of the damage caused by the earthquake and tsunami, but the pictures you're about to see almost defy belief. ITN's Alex Thompson reached a devastated coastal town whose residents paid a heavy price for putting trust in their seawall.
Army aid convoys heading east over the central mountains into the quake zone this morning. Several Japanese have asked me, what have we done to deserve an historically powerful earthquake, this vast tsunami damage, and now the blizzards? With officials here now saying more than 4,000 people are confirmed dead, we've come to the east coast to see how far search and rescue for bodies has gone in this vast area of damage. And Hiromi had been good enough to explain to us exactly what happened here 6 days ago.
It was about half an hour after the last of the earth tremors finished. People noticed that this entire bay began simply emptying of water. The tide went out way beyond the red hulk of the red ship you can see there, out even beyond the lighthouse, which you can just see sticking up in the snow. The entire bay was emptied of water, and it stayed that way for some moments. Then people living here describe an enormous rushing, roaring sound. It was the tsunami approaching at 15, 20 miles an hour, pushing everything before it, right up, right through this bay. The people living in the village in the corner there, many of them stayed put. They'd never had problems with tsunamis before. They'd come and gone, no issue. On this occasion, things were very different.
We decided to try and get there.
You're right with this?
Clearly no vehicles are going anywhere near. And look at the size of these supposed tsunami defences. High enough, thick enough, long enough. So everybody thought. An entire town stripped away to the elaborate foundations of houses designed to withstand earthquakes, yes, but a tsunami of this scale, certainly not. We finally reached the part of the town where local people had said many stayed, believing they'd be safe. Family property and effects strewn around everywhere, demonstrating these people's faith in the vast ramparts of their sea walls was fatally misplaced. But how many of the people here did so? That'll take some time to become clear. Alex Thompson, Channel 4 News, Kamaishi.
Tom Foreman reporting there. You see them plastered on the walls of every evacuation center in the quake zone and beyond. Notes from survivors looking for their loved ones. But as the days go by, the chances of finding anyone else alive are dwindling fast. CNN's Brian Todd joins us now with an update on the search operations in Japan. And I think, Todd, that's probably where this catastrophe really hits home. It is the human face of this disaster when you see people looking at those lists, looking for the names of their loved ones.
That's right, Monita, and it's increasingly likely for many of them that they may never hear from their loved ones again, because we're with urban search and rescue teams from the United States.
Of course, the chatter online has been focusing on Japan, and our top 3 trending stories, of course, focusing on Japan at number 3. Global Hawk, there's a lot of interest in the unmanned aircraft in the skies above Japan. The U.S. military is sending the drone up to help assess damage from the air. Previously, they used it over Haiti after the earthquake struck just over a year ago. At number 2, Emperor Akihito, people showing appreciation after his rare address on national television yesterday. It is the first time that Emperor Akihito has spoken to the public at a time of national crisis. And at number 1, Fukushima Prefecture, authorities have evacuated the entire area within 20 kilometers of the damaged power station. There's a lot of discussion about that online as people just like us are trying to understand the situation there. For more on all the top stories and the links to ways you can help those in Japan, do head to facebook.com/W1CNN. You are watching World 1 Live. I'm Monita Rajpal in London.